Guys, and welcome to Faewood. So I'm finishing off Dan's Green Man costume today. If you haven't seen the rest of the videos, I have been slowly putting together bits and pieces for a Green Man costume for my husband for the Goblin Ball. Now, we're not totally sure if the Goblin Ball will be able to go ahead this year. It is very up in the air. We're still in lockdown here, so although it is looking like some restrictions might ease towards the end of the month as people are getting vaccinated, it is slow, and I don't know. It's seeming unlikely that we're going to have group events or anything like that by the time the Goblin Ball comes around, but we'll see. Either way, I wanted to finish this off. Now, if you've been watching and you're following along, then you'll know that I've made like a vest jacket, I've made a shirt for him, I made a mask, and I made a staff. And I was originally saying, oh, I'll need to, embellish his jacket or something like that because I need to make him look like the Green Man. And I was sort of tossing up whether to even do that though, because I thought, it's a good jacket and it could be reused in other costumes depending on what I do to it. And I was thinking how I can get around this, and I thought the best way to do that would be to make him a cape instead and have the cape be the thing that's decorated with all the leaves. That way the jacket will match in terms of colour scheme, but it doesn't have leaves attached to it. I don't have to worry about removing those for other costumes in the future. It's just, a separate piece really. So I've got a pattern for capes here that I'd already bought, and I think I'm going to go for number C on here. There's 3 different variations. Like there's the one that has the extra little capelet parts on it. There's one that has a really big tassel on the end of it, but I'm just going for your standard kind of cape because there's going to be enough going on with all the leaves. You don't need any other details. You're not going to see them anyway. You could potentially do the capelet part if you wanted to do, say, different layers of leaves or what have you. But I think given the amount of leaves I have, I am a little unsure if I have enough leaves to cover it. Although I have a fair few, but it's going to be like it's a whole cape. So we'll see. I don't know. And I don't want to buy any more leaves for it just in case I have overshot my leaf requirements here already, because I do have a big bag of them. It's just really hard to know the surface area that it'll cover. So anyway, when I realized that, I was originally thinking, oh well, I can just use some scrap material. That'd be great because it's just mostly going to be covered in leaves anyway. But I really just didn't have any, I don't have a huge fabric stash, and the fabric I do have is mostly really nice fabric, or it's way too small to do anything with. I just didn't have anything to create this out of. So I had to put an order through Spotlight to get some material for it. But I figured I'd go for the cheap route because I am going to cover it all in leaves. So I got this brown fabric here. I need to refer to the invoice because I am a novice and I don't know exactly which fabric is what. Alright, so I have, what they call it, plain poplin fabric is what this is called. It was just super cheap. It was like $2 a meter. And I thought, I don't even care if this is thin or whatever because it's going to be covered in leaves. And I went for the brown because there wasn't a good green color. The greens were way too bright. If they had a dark emerald green or just a grungy green or something, that would be fine. But I think they had a bright limey green or something like that from memory. So I went for this one, and I figure, this is one of the colors. I've got a more green leaf as well, but I don't mind seeing some brown in between the leaves. This is a lined cape though, so I did have to fork out for some more expensive fabric, even though I was trying to be a cheapskate about it. And get this satin fabric. And I did toss up not doing satin as the lining and going again for a cheap fabric, but the reason you want a satin is you don't want it to stick to you, and this would at places probably, it wouldn't sort of nicely hang, I guess, and that's why you want a silky fabric on the inside. So I bit the bullet. I did the black. They didn't have a green or brown, so I went for black was the, oh, or did they? They didn't have a green or brown that I wanted at any rate. I can't remember now. And this was a little bit more expensive. I think it was $5 or $6 a meter. And I needed a decent amount. Actually, I think it was about 6 to 7 meters I needed of each bit of fabric. So yeah, I'm going to create this. I am so glad this is a simplicity pattern and not birder this time, because I have a fighting chance of getting this done without too much trouble. Now, some things I need to consider though. I was trying to think, okay, well, it's all well and good. I can follow this pattern, make a cape and all of that, and I want to cover it in leaves. But I'm like, well, what's the best way for me to cover it in leaves? Because I don't particularly want to sew them on. I don't think, you know, I don't know if he'll wear this more than once or not. I'm not sure, and just the thought of sewing them on individually, it would just take so long, and I have so many other projects coming up with Halloween coming up and all of that. So I thought, you know, I think I do want to hot glue them, but I don't want the hot glue to come all the way through to the lining and leave messy marks and all of that. So, I mean, we're early stages, so this might all change. But right now I'm thinking what I might have to do, cut the pattern pieces out, and then once I've, you know, sewn the front part of the cape together and I know the size of that, then I might need to attach most of the leaves to it at that point before I put it onto the lining. So that way if I use hot glue, the glue's not going to penetrate through to the other side and go through the lining. That's the plan. In a very loose form, that is the plan so far. And yeah, I'm just going to also have to be careful to space the leaves out in case I do get to a point where I run out of them and and it starts looking a bit sparse. So I'll focus mainly the leaves on the outside, I think, so that I at least get an edging of leaves. And hopefully at that point I have a bit of an idea if I've got enough to really fill it out and flesh it out. So anyway, before I yabber on, as I always say, before I yabber on too much further, because we know that can happen, I guess let's get started and make this Green Man cape. Also, just side note, if you can see any staining of like my head / ears / entire body of purple, I did my own hair purple, as you might have noticed. I am no hairdresser. I don't know what I'm doing, and this was like a packet dye situation and it was a mess. So yeah, unfortunately we can't go to hairdressers right now, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll try and do, you know, I wanted to change my hair to purple. I'll do a packet dye thing. We'll see what happens. And this is a different dye that I usually use. Managed to dye everything, including the base of my shower and everything like that. It's like Punky Color is the brand, and yeah, it's she pigmented and it just wanted to dye everything as well as my hair. So well, I guess I'll be cleaning up those for a while. Whoops. Well guys, I think I'm going to call it for today. It's past 5 o'clock and I'm really exhausted. I've been at this for a while now, and at the moment I'm just cutting out pattern pieces, so I haven't started any actual construction at this point in time, but I'm too tired to keep going, so I think we'll wrap it up here and then we'll reconvene tomorrow when hopefully I have a little bit more energy. Well guys, it's the next day and I've cut out all the pattern pieces now and I've had a look at the instructions and it's pretty straightforward, which is such a nice change from the things that I've been making recently for his costume and all of that. But what I do need to do is work out the length of the cape apparently before I get started. Now this is going to be a bit of a battle, I think, because I want the cape to be longer than him, you know, just graze the ground basically. It just looks a bit better in my opinion if it's touching the ground slightly, and I know that he would prefer that it doesn't because it's going to be a pain if people step on it or anything like that. So we'll see how that battle turns out and who wins, but I need to do that, and then once I've done that I've had a look ahead in the instructions and it seems like there's not a lot that I need to do before I'm going to have to start adding the leaves on. There's a few panel pieces that get sewn together first, and then yeah, pretty much I'll have to put the leaves on because the last step will be attaching it to the lining. So yeah, first step is getting the length right, and I would show that on camera, but usually Dan doesn't want to be on camera, so I'll probably do that off camera, but I'll let you guys know what happened. Alright, just measured him up and he said, he gave me the all clear to leave the length as it is. It sort of touches the ground, but then there's like maybe a lip of say an inch or so that it hits the ground a bit further. So there's a little bit of like carpet grazing. And I was like, maybe I could take a couple of inches off. I even offered, but he said no, leave it as is. So that's what we're doing. I'm just capturing this now as proof later if he complains. We'll see. I hope it comes out good. Well. So, I had to cut the cape down further. I thought I would have to do that. I had this inkling, even though Dan was like, no, leave it. He tried it on again and went, oh, it's too long. I could have killed him. Ah. I decided to cut off just that end little part of the leaf. I didn't want all these little black bits of plastic, I guess, sticking up from the top of the leaf. Just a preference thing. And I really just tacked the leaves down. I didn't glue every part of the leaf down. It just then lets it have a bit more of a natural look instead of being completely flattened against the material. Now, because of the size of this cape, I was constantly having to move the cape backwards and forwards to be able to attach leaves. And I really spaced them out at the start just to see how many I could cover it with. Excuse the terrible lighting, but because I'm moving all around my studio, sometimes I end up talking to the camera in not the most flattering of light. Also, you might hear rain in the background. It's just started to rain again here. Okay, so where we're at, I've attached a group of leaves like the, I don't know if I can hold it up actually. I've got these brownie coloured leaves that I've attached to like the edges of the cape so far, and I don't know, I thought I had more leaves than I did. Like, it looked like more in the bag. I thought it was going to cover more surface area, but it's very sparse and I'm getting concerned. I'm thinking I may end up needing more leaves. Like, ideally I would love to just have this be all leaves, and I'm a long way off having that, so I don't know yet. I might end up getting more leaves, but we'll see. I'm going to start moving on to these leaves, which are all the kind of smaller reddy brown, like maple leaves, I think they're meant to be. I'm keeping the green ones for when I'm finished all of this, and I want to put them around like more of the edge of the cape, but I can't put them on yet because they're going to be in the way. I'm not going to be able to sew like the seams and everything like that, so that's why I'm not putting those ones on until I've done all the sewing, turned it inside out and that sort of thing. And I'm not sure how that's going to go yet, because I did want to not have hot glue showing, and I don't know how I'm going to do that at this point in time. Like, maybe I'll just have to sew the ones that are around the outside if I'm being that fussy. We'll see what I can be bothered doing. I mean, that looks like a lot of leaves right there, but this is a really big cape, so like, you need a shit ton of leaves. So I'm still sitting here going, do I order some more leaves and then finish this project later? I don't know. So I focused the leaves around the outside of the cloak first, and then at the back I had them sort of sweep up towards the top of where the hood is, just to give this really nice pattern of colouring. And I really kept a pattern going with the different colours of leaves that I was using, and graduated those colours as I went along. Well, it's the next day, and I spent a bit of time last night just prying apart all my leaves, so it was a bit easier for me to get going, because these ones at least were pressed flat together. It must be the way they're manufactured. So once I pried them apart, I actually have more leaves than I really thought. So I don't know, hopefully I can use these and get a fairly good coverage of the cape, but we'll see. As you can see, range of sort of colours here. It's going to look more like an autumn type of cape just because of the leaves that I have. And I'm just going to go with it. If I don't like it at the end, I guess I can always put some other colours on it. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but I have some cockatoos out there by the sounds of it, and they are really bloody loud. Anyway, the hot glue's heating up and I'm going to get back into attaching these leaves. Although I was doing a pattern when it comes to the colours of the leaves and graduating them out, I really wanted to keep it natural looking, so I did put them down in a somewhat haphazard manner. I wasn't trying to make them look completely uniform and make the pattern precise. That way it gave it still a bit of a natural look. I ended up getting really sick of using these tables because it just did not fit on them, so I've done away with the tables. Well, you might have noticed I got rid of the tables. And I feel like Rachel Maxey right now, and as she would say, I'm a bit of a floor troll. I just got so sick of moving this bloody thing back and forward across the tables to try and hot glue everything because they don't fit. It doesn't fit on the tables. It barely fits on my floor. It's so big when you stretch it out. But I needed to kind of see it, you know, as much as I could, so that I can see the layout of the leaves, because I'm trying to keep it even on both sides sort of thing. So yeah, I thought this was the best way to do it. So we're going to continue on the floor troll style. Now I looked back on my purchases for the leaves to check how many I had, and it turns out I have over 500 leaves. Like, one of the packets of leaves was 500, and you combine that with the oak leaves, and then I did get another packet of the maple leaves. There's hundreds of leaves going on this thing. It's incredible. And I still didn't manage to fully fill it out. I had to space them out to really get as much coverage as I could get. And I did a similar thing with the hood, like having a graduating shade range of colours happening there, but not too precise. You know, still trying to keep a bit of that natural look, but that, I don't know, maybe they've just naturally fallen into this colour gradient. And you can see I'm just using a piece of cardboard in between so that the hot glue doesn't go all the way through. I had some remaining leaves, but they're all different colours, and I wanted to keep that kind of graduating colour shade range happening. So the best way I thought to do that was to spray paint some of them gold for the outside. And then it came time to do the lining, because the leaves that I have remaining pretty much have to go around the outside, and I won't be able to put the lining on and sew it properly on the sewing machine if I've got leaves everywhere on the outside, so those definitely have to go after the lining's done. So you can see the leaves still have a little bit of colour, but I've sprayed them gold, so they're, you know, heavily gold, but with little tones of either yellow or red or whatever. And again, I used the cardboard to stop it from going through to the lining, and that worked out pretty well. Otherwise, it would have just had all these hot glue spots coming through, and I just didn't want that. So we have a little bit of a semblance of a cloak now. Well, not a little bit, it's pretty much done, except for a seam at the bottom where I folded it in on itself. You know, you've got to like then fold it back around the right way and then slip stitch or something like that. What's the stitch called? I don't know. There's a stitch that I have to do at the part that I have to sew together. I might actually cheat and use my sewing machine for that, because it's like I decided to make my little opening at the base of the cloak, and you're not going to see that, and I'm also having leaves hanging off the edge, so yeah, I think that'll be fine. So though, the things that I have to do now is attach leaves to the outside of this, and I'm not going to sew up that little edge part, and that's going to allow me to put a little bit of cardboard in and hot glue with the cardboard underneath so that it doesn't let the glue go through to the lining. So I'm going to do that. But also the other thing is, like, I had a real distinct lack of green leaves making this, as you can probably tell. So I'm thinking, as much as I love the way this looks, and if I was making like an autumn man and not a green man, it would be fine. But I am making a green man, and it's not very green. So I'm gonna try and add some green into it, because yeah, I need it to look like a green man, otherwise the theme is lost. So I've got some green spray paint. I'm gonna try that. I also do have some like paint that you can use on fabric, so if I need to add some more color, like green colours in somewhere, I can always use that as well. But spray paint's a little bit easier, so I'm going to try that first and see how we go. I used a piece of cardboard in here to stop the glue from going through to the lining, but it was a little bit tricky moving it around inside the cloak. And once I was doing the green leaves at the bottom, I'd already sewn the cloak together, so I just lived with any glue seepage at that point. It was at the bottom of the cloak anyway, so I wasn't too worried. And then I slowly built up the spray paint on this. I didn't want to entirely cover the colour of the leaves, I just wanted to introduce more of a green tone to the overall cloak. And this is the finished costume. I hope you guys have enjoyed watching this come together. Sadly, we won't be attending the Goblin Ball this year because it has been cancelled. We're still in lockdown here in Melbourne, and it's been a tough road for us here. I think we've had more lockdowns here than anywhere else in the world. But once everything is back to normal and the Goblin Ball is back on, we will definitely be there, and Dan will hopefully be attending as the Green Man. Hit subscribe if you want to see more from me, guys. I've got a whole lot of Halloween stuff coming and I'm really excited about it. So yeah, hope you stick around to see all of that. And for the rest of you, I'll see you next time in Faewood. Bye, guys.